So we wondered about calling this episode Don't Try This at Home. But anyway, welcome back to Getting Closure. I'm James. I'm with Cheryl. How are you, Cheryl?
I'm good, thanks, James. How are you?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. So look, the real idea of this one is we've been talking over the last few episodes about different steps towards the end. And then finally, at last, an application for Windup comes and you hit it. And we're going to talk about the Don't Try This at Home is I'm not going to do anything about it. I'm going to let the application for Windup wash over me. So just tell me exactly what I've done, what's happened to me, and where I'm going to go from here. If I've said, okay, application for Windup, liquidator appointed, I'm just going to let it happen. What happens?
Well, first of all, from my position, I never like to be out of control. I never like to have someone else in control. I believe you should be proactive and you should always be in control. But unfortunately, there are people who put their head in the sand, who aren't proactive in this instance. And we often even hear from people perhaps 18 months, 2 years later, who've been through this process and were told by their advisor, let it go to the keeper. Let somebody else wind it up. Let a court-appointed liquidator take over. So what happens when a court-appointed liquidator takes over? On the date that the wind-up application is heard in court, generally speaking, pretty soon after that, sometimes within hours, sometimes within 24 hours, you'll get a phone call or correspondence from the appointed liquidator basically asking you questions about your company. If your company is still trading, then they will more than likely turn up on the doorstep of the company and they will want to seize your books and records. They might want to seize plant and equipment. They will certainly be wanting to shut down your business.
Right, so if you've just sat there quietly, just ignoring it and hoping it'll go away, if the business is still operating, as you said, you should expect people on the doorstep coming to either take stuff, take control of things, ask you for the keys, all sorts of stuff like that.
That's right. Once again, my suggestion is that if you have let it go this far, then at that point you probably need advice as well. Are the premises, for example, on a property that's owned by yourself or by a different company? Does the liquidator actually have a right to enter your premises? The plant and equipment, is it actually owned by a different entity? Do they have the right to seize that plant and equipment? There's a lot of ifs and ands, but if you don't have any advice, then sometimes you may let a liquidator into premises where they're legally not allowed to. You may let them take plant and equipment that they're legally not entitled to.
So isn't this the point that you make quite a bit? Is just because someone who has an authority of some kind says something doesn't mean that you don't have the right to challenge it. So if someone turns up but you have been advised that they don't have the right to enter, you have the right to say to that officious-looking person, hey, you don't have the right to be here.
You do have that right. Now, you certainly don't have the right to refuse to hand over books and records of the company and company assets. But as we know, a lot of people don't really understand often the difference between company assets, personal assets. If their accountant has maybe set up a trust that owns assets, sometimes directors don't understand the difference between those different entities and who exactly owns what. So once again, I think if you choose not to take control, if you choose to just allow things to happen, then sometimes you can be severely disadvantaged by the fact that you don't actually know what your rights are.
It's right. So you're saying, in a sense, there's a whole lot of stuff that could happen to you quite quickly that could actually be quite detrimental to your final position because you've let it go. You've actually let stuff go you didn't need to let go. So in a sense, it's the old situation of pretending that things aren't happening sometimes makes it worse than facing them. And we often say that in these series, it's better try and front up. But at least if you've got some advice, you know what to expect. But also, if you take a bit of control, things may not be as bad as they seem if you take a proactive approach to solving what's going on to you.
Exactly.
So, great. Okay, I think we better keep on going. So really, we're only just at the beginning of what's happened when you've gone down this path. Let's keep going. A reminder that these podcasts are general in nature and do not constitute advice, and they don't take into account your personal circumstances. So if you think, though, that some of the issues raised might apply to you, you should seek qualified financial, legal or counselling advice.